Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the happy turtle. I am in love with this guy. I think he's super adorable. Or her, I guess, because I put a bow on her. I love turtles. I've made them before on Rainbow Loom, and I know there's lots of other options out there, but I just really love how this one turned out. It's nice and solid, of course, and he stands up, and she. So I just love him. You have a couple of different options for how you want to do the color. The head and the feet, I kind of did the same on all of them, obviously, but the shell you can change which color you want for the top part, and then this little trim piece here. So, band-wise, it's about 512 plus a few more for like if you use bands for the eyes and then the mouth and the cheeks. So, not super bad. It's less than a pack of bands, so that's good. Kind of getting more specific, there's 230 for the head, the legs, and there's a little tail here, and then the upper shell is 218, and this little trim piece is 64. So we'll get started. This will probably be a little bit longer tutorial, but totally worth it. I love her. Woo. So put her over here. It's on one loom, so we have that ready for us. We'll go through making the eyes and the cheeks first. So you can use, I use 7mm pony beads. I don't think that you can use the regular ones, they'd be too large. But you can use either the 7mm pony beads, so you'll have to find something to thread the bands through, since they won't just slide. But you want, this is a piece of craft wire that I bent in half, otherwise you can use string thread or floss, anything you can get into a V shape. Take two bands, put them in the center, close it up, and then thread your bead through the end, pull it down, take out your tool, and you have a beaded eye band. If you don't have any beads that size, you can still use a wrapped band, just whatever color you want the eye to be, on your hook, wrap it around to a figure 8. Grab both bands, wrap them around again, and then take two bands that are the color of your turtle's head and pull them through. So you'd have a wrapped band, eye band if you want to do it that way. The cheeks are made the same way, whatever color you want the cheeks to be, on the hook into a figure 8. Grab both bands, wrap them around again, and then pull through two bands that are the color of your head. So we have those. Out of the way. So you want those made, and then we make the head and the feet separately, and then the tail too, but and then we connect it all together as we loom, so there's only really one portion on the bottom here that's where we tie it off. So we'll start with the head first. And first we're going to start by adding the mouth band. So whatever color you want the mouth to be, I'm going to take it, put it on just kind of any pin because we don't spread out too far, but on the pin, and then make it into a cat band. So wrap it around one time in the center somewhere. Then you'll grab it with your hook and you pull it out to the right and then pull it out to the left. And it's alright if you stretch it way out because that helps with the making the smile go all the way around. But then push that down and we'll ignore it till we get to adding the mouth on. So now we're still working on the head, so color up here. Now we're going to make an X across. It's two bands. Everything will be two bands except for when I tell you not two bands, which is later, but so two bands. Starting over here where the mouth band is on the left, cross over. And then two bands right on top of that. And then on each of these pins, you'll take two bands and wrap them around one time into a cat band. Like that. And then we'll loom this out. So we're going through the cap band on the right side because that's the band that's on the bottom. If you did it differently, then whatever band's on the bottom, start on that side. Going through the cap band, pull out those two bottom bands, and then pull them all the way back across the loom and do the same thing on the other side like that. Now we'll do a row around, still 2 bands. Like that. Then you'll flip the bottom 4 bands. Remember, we're ignoring the mouth band. You flip the bottom 4 on all 4 pins. Like that. Now we're going to increase. We're going to do that by grabbing on this top right. If you put your bands on the same way as I did, then you'll just be able to grab the top 2 bands and bring them up to this middle pin. You want it so that they don't cross right here, and I'll show you over here where we're going to do the other increase. If I just picked up these top 2 bands and brought them over, you can see that they cross right here. We don't want that. So I'm just going to pick up all 4 bands, bring them down to the bottom center, and then bring back the top 2. So now there's no crossing right here or right here. Now our next row is going to be an eye row. So you'll want your eyes, and they're going to go right here in front. Right there, and right here. And then the rest of the way around is 2 bands. Like that. Then we'll go around and flip the bands. Some of them will only have 2 bands. The 2 up here will have 2 bands to flip, and the 2 down here will have 2 bands to flip. And these ones will have 4. So 4, 2, 2, 4, 2, and 2. So look like that. And I'm going to stick my hook in the center here and just pop this up over the top of the pin. I don't want to pull anything too hard, because otherwise it kind of, we'll have to go back and fix the bands, but just want to pop it up a little bit and push these down. Now we're going to do it's technically what I call a half row, but we're going to just place bands on the front part here. It's 2 bands on the left side, and then 2 on the right. So right there. And then we're just going to flip this middle portion. There'll be 4 bands under there. You have to be careful because they want to pop off. So I'll still leave you with 4 on there, on the front one. Push those down, and we're going to do the exact same thing again. Right in the front, 2 bands on each side. And then again, flip the bottom 4 in the front. And try not to hook your mouth band. Like that. Push your bands down. Now we're going to do our cheek row. So we're going to start right here in the front. It's just going to be the 2 bands. Then our cheeks are going to go opposite on each side of here, but we'll start over here. 1 cheek. Then again, 2 bands. And then the other cheek. These are some dual layer bands, and they're all glittery. I can see it. So like that. Now we're going to go and flip the bands. The back 3 pins will have 4 bands to flip over. And the front pins, or this one here on the right, is going to be 4 from those half rows that we did, and then the bottom 4 from the row way before. So we'll be leaving 4 bands on the pin. And it's the same thing on the left side. 4 bands, and then the bottom 4. And the front will be the bottom 4. Go ahead and push your bands down. And again, you want to kind of pop up the head here. Just be careful how you do it. Make sure your bands are pushed down. So now what we can do is we can flip up the mouth. So this mouth band, we're just going to pull it up over the top and just leave it right up there. Now we're going to again do the 2 little half rows in the front here. So 2 bands on the left and the right, and then flip the middle. Push that down, and then do it again. Left and right. And flip the middle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to reduce this middle pin in the back and this the middle pin in the front. So in the back, just find the top 2 bands, pull them up, and you'll see that I have the 2 bands that are connected to each other. Sometimes if you grab the wrong ones, you'll see one band that's coming to like the left and the other one will go to the right. Both of mine are coming from the left, so I'm going to pull them over to the right. And then I know that the other 2 bands need to come to the left. And on the front, we're going to do the same thing. Grab the top 2 bands, see where they're coming from. Mine are coming from the right, so they're going to go over to the left. And then the other ones will go over to the right. Go ahead and push those bands down. Now we're going to do 2 rows all the way around. So it's 2 bands. And there's a lot of bands on these front 2 pins. Just push them down for now. But we're doing that row all the way around. Like that. So the back 2 pins are going to have a reducing band. There's 2 of them. Those go over, and then the bottom 4. Go and flip those. Same thing on the other side. There's the reducing bands, and then the bottom 4. And now the front, it's going to have a lot, so there are, I'm just kind of separating these all out, otherwise I'd probably just start hooking them, but you have 2 bands from the reducing. You'll have the 4 bands from those half rows that we did, and then you'll have the 4 bands from the row way back. And those all go over, and we're just leaving 2 or 4 bands on the pin. And it's the same thing on the other side. The 2 reducing bands and the 4 bands from the half row. I think I grabbed, there we go, that's my reducing band. And the last 4. So push these down, and now grab this top section here and pull up. And these bands kind of want to tuck in front but just use your hands to do it because your hook, you might distort the face. But be very careful you don't pull it off the loom yet. And I distorted the face anyways, but that's okay. We'll fix it. So like that. Believe me, it looks better when it's off the loom. So that was one row. We're going to do another row all the way around. 2 bands. Hey. Like that. Now flip the bottom 4 all the way around. Pull it up again. Push them down. And now we're going to do kind of half rows like we did before, only we're going to start on the left with 1 band, and then in the front will be 2 bands, and then on the right will be 1 band, like that. And then when we flip, we're going to flip the front 2 pins, the bottom 4. Push those down. And we'll want to do that again. So single band on the left, 2 bands on the front, and then 1 band on the right. And then again, flip just the front 2 pins. There's 3 on the bottom now. Like that. Now we'll do a row all the way around with 2 bands. Like that. So when we flip our back pins, they're going to have 2 bands from the half row, and then you'll have the bottom 4. Our front pins are going to have 3 bands to flip over. And it's the same thing on the other side. 2 bands, and then 4, and then this front one will have 3. It's a little distorted, but we'll fix them together. So now what you need are the bands that you're going to use for your shell color up here. And this time I'm going to use some more duo layer bands to see how that looks. But what we want to do is take this guy off the loom, and we need to basically have the back 2 connected onto bands and the front 2 connected onto bands. So how I do that is I take my hook, stick it through one side on the back, and I'll stick it through the other side, and just leave it like that. Grab my 2 bands I want to put on that are the shell color. I'll pull those through, put both ends on my hook, and then I'll come around and do the front. So I'll grab one side and then the other side, and then 2 more bands that are the shell color. I'll pull through that front section only, and back on the hook with both sections. Like so. So we got a little distorted. Not too bad. I'm going to grab a different hook, but if you have a different hook or a pencil to put this on, so you can kind of use the hook. But you just want to go in and pull out any bands that kind of look like it's a little tucked in a little bit, or I look at this as kind of like, here's the chin and here's the nose area. The mouth should be centered in there somewhere. I usually pull the mouth way out and make sure I pull it way back past the back of the cheeks on both sides. And then I'll let go. So then the smile actually connects to the cheek over there. And in the front here where the nose is, I take my hook and pull it out. It's not too bad. Like that. Just fix any of the bands you think are a little goofy. Unfortunately, I think I got the perfect shape for it. It's just the bands don't want to cooperate when I'm growing up the face this time, so I still love him. So like that. I'm happy with that. So now, when I made them before, I would just take out my hook and I'd leave these free, and I'd just kind of go on faith that they'll stick there. But this time, since I'm doing a tutorial and I really don't want to lose them, I'm just going to take all of these that are on my hook, or if you put it on a pencil or another hook that you're not going to use, then that's great too. But I'm just going to put it on the end of my loom that would be where the red arrows are. So I'll take all this and stretch it. But sometimes it's easier said than done. There's half. And half. That would be nice and secure on there while we're working on the feet, which will take a while as well, unfortunately. Get the glitter out of the way. So for the feet, I'm going to want more of these. We're gonna you can make all 4 of them on the loom at once. I need to make all 4 of them, so I'll go through them as quickly as I can. It doesn't take a whole lot to make them, it's just repetitive. So they're 4-pin, so from the center, you can kind of start back where you think you'll need, but this is the space for 1 foot. So we'll start back here just to make sure. But 2 bands, center out to 4 pins. Like that. Then I'm just going to kind of repeat what I do in one in the rest of them, and then I'll come back and just keep going like that into a cycle here. So we want another 4-pin, so you want to skip a space. And then from the center out to 4 pins. Get you over here. Like that. And that's 2. Another one. And 1 more. So you have the 4-pin from the center out to 4 pins. And then on the center of each one of these, we're going to do a cap band. It'll be 2 bands wrapped around 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. I never know how to count that, like telling you how many to wrap around, because I could say wrap it around twice, so you have to put it on. So then here's 1, and here's 2, and that's the same thing as saying wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Either way. So there's my 4 feet. We'll go in through the center of each cap band, and you'll grab the top 2 bands wherever they are, and just pull them out through the center, and then loom them back towards themselves on all of the pins. I'm going to do that for each of them. Like that. Push them all down. Now it's in letting you know ahead of time what we're doing. We're going to be doing 3 rows all the way around with 2 bands each. So we'll work on our first row here. I always dislike putting them over the top of the base plates because I don't think you can see them as well, but since it's repetitive, you get to see it in the other spots. But I'm just repeating the same thing on all of them so I know exactly where I am for each step. This is the first row. Stay. So like that. Then you'll go onto each pin and you'll flip the bottom 4. I'll just go up one side and come back down the other. Like that. So then you want to push these down, do our second row, same thing. So the other day I went to the gas station to get gas. I went inside to pay for it. Which I'll tell you about that in a minute too, because that's kind of, it's weird for different places, but had to cruise by the candy aisle, and I got super excited, which is sad, because Twix, they fixed what in my mind was a huge mistake by changing the cookie bars in the peanut butter Twix to chocolate. They made them back the way they were supposed to be with the vanilla bars. I'm so excited and it's sad. So there's our second row. We're going to flip the bottom 4 all the way around again. I used to have, there aren't very many candies that I like, but that was one of them that I really liked, and it was like, they used to sell them in like a red box on the cookie aisle, and I knew that there were like, this is sad, there were 11 individually wrapped Twix bars in there with the peanut butter, and I was so sad when they changed the recipe and they all disappeared, and every once in a while I'd be like, I should write Twix and tell them they made a mistake, and I never did, but somebody must have, because they brought it back. Although they're calling it a new recipe when it's not a new recipe, but I don't mind, I still got my Twix bars. So third row, same thing. 2 bands all the way around each foot. So yes, that's very sad, but it made me happy. And I had to buy one, of course, so it was delicious. Everything I remembered. How about with gas? Here in Wisconsin, we do not have to pay for our gas ahead of time. We can pump it, and you can either pay at the pump if you want by credit card, or You just say you're going to pay inside, and or you hit the pay inside button and then you pump your gas, then you go inside and pay. There are a lot of states that don't do it that way. You have to either go inside and prepay or pay at the pump. So like that. Again, flip the bottom 4 all the way around. And it's really weird because I only remembered the states that I'd been in or that I'd not paid attention. Usually if we go somewhere we fly, but so I don't drive in too many states or pay attention, I guess, but I've never had to pay for my gas beforehand. And I had went to Virginia a while back, and I was like, why won't they let me pump my gas? And this is weird. I wanted to get a soda when I was paying for my gas. It was weird. So now we have our third row done. So what we want to do on each one of these is you want to push them down as far as they go. And then you're going to take your hook and go in through the center and find that cap band. You want to really try to just grab the cap band and then pull it up so it pops. And then kind of center it if you can, or the best that you can while it's still on the loom. Because sometimes when I pull too hard and it kind of distorts where this little kind of round, nice centery piece is. So try and get that fixed so it's centered now, instead of trying to do it later. But do that on each one of these. And sometimes it helps just to push down on the bands again, because that pops the center back up. But yeah, that's my funny story with gas. It's amazing. I mean, I know there's some people out there who don't know how to pump gas and they're older. But it's kind of funny when you feel like you know how to do things and you're like, it won't let me. So there we have our 4 feet. And we're going to kind of do the same thing we did with the head, where we take off half and half. And to do that, you'll want the shell color, again, whatever color is going to be up here. I'll turn this sideways. Get some of these out of my way. I'm just going to go in through the bands on one side. 4 here, 4 here. Pull those bands through. Put both of that shell band back on my hook. And then I'll turn my loom and then grab the other 4. And I kind of push this back because otherwise it wants to kind of collapse in on itself. So I've got that, and then 2 more bands, pull through on the other side. Kind of center it. I usually smush the feet, so it looks like that. And again, you can take your hook out and leave them, and they should stay together. I'm a little nervous just because these are kind of the jelly bands, which I use the opaque bands for the other, my practice ones, and then my final one I was happy with. But I do know that if you take these off the loom and you don't secure them to a pin, make sure that it kind of looks like this, where they're straight across from each other, that these aren't turned in any way, because otherwise these will start dipping down inside the foot. So you want it to look like this, and then they should stay just fine until you need to use them. And you can pull them way out. Make sure you get it out there nice. So that's one. Do that with the other ones. I'm sure you could pull up the band while it's on the loom as well, if you're nervous about taking it off, like I am. I'll show you what I mean by that kind of being twisted. I wouldn't leave them sit like this where they're twisted. Try and straighten them up, because that should help keep it together as well. couple more. Another one. And one more. Not the right color. There we go. Luckily, if these do fall apart on you, they aren't super hard to remake. Just a few rows, so hopefully that doesn't have to. So now we have the feet, we have the head. Now we need to do the tail, which is not too bad. It's just the little piece right here. So you want 2 bands on your hook, wrap them around into the figure 8, grab all 4 bands, wrap them around again. This is the, I guess, the head foot color for me. Then we'll take 2 bands, same color, double them, so the figure 8, grab all 4 bands and then slide them through what's already on your hook. And then back on. I'll do that one more time. 2 bands, doubled, pull them through, back on. And then you want 2 bands that are the color of your shell to pull through the end. Like that. And then just center it. And this is pretty tight, so you don't have to worry about this popping off. But like that. So now we'll start on the shell. So the loom still wrong end towards me. Want our shell color. So I'm going to start like the 7th pin up on the left side here. 2 bands across. We're going to make an X. And 2 bands right on top of that. Again, this is the part right here. Then at each one of these 2 pins right here, we're going to do the cap band. It's 2 bands wrapped around one time. Then we'll go in through the cap band that has the bands on the bottom. Pull those bands up and back. Do the same thing on the other side. Like that. We'll do a row around. 2 bands. And flip the bottom 4 on all the pins. Now we're going to expand on all 4 pins. So again, we want to have that, we don't want any crossing. So I'm going to start over here on the right side, on the top here. I can just pick up the top 2 bands here and pull them up a pin, and there's no crossing right here. This one, however, and looks like all the rest of them, I have to pick them all up. And I can already see that I flipped an extra one. Hold on. Don't want any goop. mistakes. Haha, okay. So I'm going to pick up all 4 bands, bring them down a pin, and then bring the top 2 back. So again, there's no crossing right here. Same thing on the other side. Bring all 4 bands down, and then bring the 2 bands back up. And then here, we're going to go bring them up, and bring the 2 bands on the top back down. So now we're on 8 pins. You can see there's no crossing in between any of these. This band up here on this pin comes around to this pin. This band comes around to this pin. So you want it to look like that. So we'll do a row around. And for those of you who want to get ahead, it's actually 2 rows. And although I didn't add any like wrap bands or anything crazy on the shell, because I kind of like the simplicity of this one, you could add some wrap bands in there. I wouldn't add a ton of them because you'll distort the shell shape, but you could add some in there for a little polka dot shell or something. So like that. So you'll have 2 bands to flip all the way around. Push that down. Then we'll do another row right on top. 2 bands all the way around. Like that. Then you'll flip the bottom 4 on all the pins. Like that. So now we need to expand, and we're going to expand every pin. So to start that out, we're going to actually take our 4 corners and move them out a pin. So up here on the top, I'm just going to grab all 4 and bring them up on both sides. Like that. I'll do the same thing on these lower 2. Just going to grab them and bring them down. So now it should look like this. And we'll start on the center ones. We'll start on the right side first. You're going to grab the top 2 bands. And if you put your bands on the same way as I did, then these ones that are on my hook, they come around and they connect to this pin. So I'm just going to bring them up. And because that's the way I want it. There's no crossing right here again. And down here, if I pick up the top 2 bands and I try to bring them down, you'll see that there's a crossing right here. We don't want that. So again, I'm going to pick up all 4 bands on this pin right here, bring them down 1, and then I'll take the top 2 and bring them back. The ones that are on this pin, they come around to this other middle pin. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So starting up here, I can't pick up the top 2 because they'll be crossing then. So I need to pick up all 4 bands and bring them up. And then I can bring the top 2 back. And this pin, I can pick up the top 2 and bring them down. So like that so far. There's no crossing in between here. And I have 2 bands on the middle 4 pins, and there's still 4 on the end ones. So now we'll do the end. And for these, I'm going to have to bring them down 1 more pin. So starting down here, I'm going to grab all these, bring them down a pin, and then I can bring the top 2 back. Same thing on this side. Pick them up, bring them down. The jelly bands are pretty stretchy, I know with the opaque bands I had to pull this part right here up over the top of the pin to give it more room, so you may have to do that as well. But then I can grab the top two and bring them back. So I have this, the band that's on this pin comes around and goes to this pin on the right. So do the same thing up here. So if you are using the opaque bands, it might just help to just stretch this over the top to begin with. On the right side, I know that I can just pick up the top two bands and bring them up a pin. But on the left side, I need to pick up all four, bring them up, and then bring the top two back. So we stretched it out pretty far. So again, just kind of check it over, see if there's any crossing. I mean, it won't be a huge deal, I don't think, if you have any that are kind of goofy, but because I'll get lost into the rows. But each one of our pins now, we're going 8 pins on each side. Try to make sure. And then each pin has 2 bands on it. So now we're going to do row around the entire thing. And you can actually do 3 rows if you want to kind of jump ahead. 3 rows and then wait for me. So it's 2 bands all the way around. So it's story time because now I got some long looming spaces to fill. So I love turtles ever since I was a kid. They're just fun to look at, and they're these huge shells, and they're just really neat animals. But when I was a kid, we lived in the country, and we had a little creek, or creek, I guess, depending on what part of the country you're from, that ran by the side of our house. So like that, row all the way around. Now flip the bottom 2 bands on all the pins. But there was one spring where it flooded really bad, and we had water that was getting pretty close to the house, and we kind of, being a kid, we'd go out, and of course, I don't know where things were different when I was little, but we would go out there and we'd take a look at it and watch it, and we'd be climbing on the trees over the creek, and I don't know where my mom was, but yeah, kids get into trouble. So that was one row. We'll start our second row, 2 bands. But there was, this time we went out there because one of our dogs was barking, and we're going to go see what she's barking at. There's lots of critters in the wild, possums usually. And we go out there, and there's this huge turtle that had climbed up into our yard, and the width of its shell was probably like 2 loom lengths, using loom to compare, loom lengths wide, and it was just this massive turtle. And of course we're all just like, oh my god, this is the most awesome thing ever, and we're getting close to it, and we're not poking at it, thankfully, even though we were kids. Who knows what we were going to do. But there's our second row. You flip the bottom 4 all the way around. We're playing with it, and we're like, we got this idea that our dogs are barking at it, what if they attack it? And I mean, we're just kind of young and silly, I suppose, so we were like, well, we're going to move this turtle and save it because we don't want anything to happen to it, instead of just tying up our dog, because that would have been a lot easier. But we started, like, we'd push on the back of its shell to try and get him to move, and he just wasn't going anywhere, and then eventually crawled inside his shell, and we're like, this isn't working. As we go along here, I'm going to flip in the bands over the pins just so they're not quite stretched so much. You want to do that as well. Push those down. Then we'll do our third row all the way around with the 2 bands. So eventually with my older brothers and myself, or my older brother and younger brother and myself, we decided that we were just going to pick this turtle up and move it back towards the water. I don't know what we were doing, but we're picking it up and we're, you know, it was heavy, very heavy, and we're moving it and kind of taking it back towards the water, and all of a sudden I figured out what kind of turtle it was because it bit me in my leg. It was a snapping turtle, and he was not very happy that we were touching him and moving him and making him not be where he was wanted to be, and it super hurt, drew blood. It was like, oh my god, and I was so mad at the turtle, but then at the same time I was like, oh, he bit me, oh, it's so cool, a turtle bit me. So there's that third row. We'll flip over the bottom 4 all the way around. So yeah, by this time I believe an adult was present, probably from my screaming, and that we were told to leave the turtle alone. But it was like, I'd sit there, and after I got all bandaged up, I'd sit and stare out the window watching the turtle, just kind of going, yeah, I want to go out and play with the turtle, he's my friend, and I didn't mean to make him mad at me. And I just like watched, and I'd get up. He actually stayed in our yard for about 2 days, and I'd sit there and I'd watch, and I'd wake up in the morning and just kind of look out the window and be like, is he still there, you know? And then one day he was gone. It made me sad. So like that. So here's our 4th row. We're going to do a 4th row around, but on this row we're going to attach the head, or part of the head. And the head is going to go, if we look here, kind of center down, it's going to go right here. So I'm going to start down here though with my bands, 2 bands. So 3 up, and then you'll be at the center. So you'll want your head. I'm going to take it all off onto my hook. If you have it on a pin or something, you'll want to do the same. Take it all off, and then we're just going to kind of gently take our hook out. And then again, you want to make sure that it's not twisted. So we hopefully don't lose any bands. So I'm going to turn my loom so that the right side is towards me, where we have our bands. And you'll look at the head. We want it to be pointing down, and you want to find the 2 bands that are on the, either however you want to look at it, the bottom of the set of 4 bands, or the ones that are towards the top of the head. You want those 2 bands first. So you'll grab those carefully. Make sure you have a good grip on both of them, otherwise you'll pull it through, right through the turtle's head. Okay, I'm trying to find the center. It won't let me. Alright, so like that. And then this is going to go right here. That's what it looks like from that side. From the underside, I have the other 2 bands over here. Again, if you're nervous about these falling out, you can go ahead and like stick your hook through both of them, pull another band through and tie a little slip knot there. Just kind of whatever makes you feel comfortable. I think I'll be okay. So like that is what the other side looks like. And then the rest of the way around we're going to do the 2 bands. But that was my story about my turtle friend when I was a child who bit me. Still doesn't mean I don't try and help turtles. Where I live there's I guess this marshy area, but of course somebody built a road kind of right through it, so every once in a while when we drive down that way there'd be little painted turtles that have found themselves onto the road, so we usually stop the vehicle and put them into the marsh like that. And then you flip the bottom 4 all the way around. I usually just go what way are you pointed? And I'll take you over that way. Turtles are awesome, but I have to tell you, I never have one as a pet. They are not very sanitary creatures. They can make you sick if you're don't take care of their cages, or not cages, but aquariums and things like that. So, and they can be smelly. So careful by the head here when you're flipping those bands over. But they're awesome creatures. I need to go to the Galapagos and see one of the Galapagos turtles. That'd be awesome. So now we have the head partially attached. So what we want to do now is I'm going to, again, move these bands towards the center. And I will carefully also pop it up off the center pin. And that will help the rest of it pop up as well. Because of the stretching that happens, there might be like little, like here it's kind of, looks like there's a little hole there. It's just the stretching of the bands, so I usually just kind of pull them towards each other, and that'll fix that. You might have to fix it once you get it off the loom as well, but that's what that is right there. So now you want to push these down as far as they go, and we're going to make our little trim piece that goes around the outside of the shell. Pink. And for this, we're going to do, it's 2 bands, and we're going to cross them as we put them on all the way around. So I'll put them on, cross it like that, and then you'll do that all the way around this entire row. We'll ignore those other bands on the head, and again, just kind of be mindful of them as you're going around. They are in the way a little bit. More glitter bands, more glitter. Like that. So now you want to kind of push these all down a little bit, because right on top of these we're going to do another row all the way around. Same trim color, 2 bands all the way around right on top of what we just laid down. See. There are a lot of bands on the pin, just squish them down. So like that. So now what we want to do, so if we look on the side here, we're going to have the 4 bands that are part of the main shell color. Then there'll be 4 bands from the crossed row that we did, and then 4 bands that are from the normal row on top of that. what we want to do is grab the 4 bands in the middle, or the 4 bands that are part of the cross row, and those are going to come over the top. And you'll do that all the way around on each pin. I find it really easy, or much easier this time than normal, because normally when I'm doing this little row thing on things, it's the same color as the bottom ones, so it makes the differentiating between that very bottom row and the middle row much more difficult. So that's one side, and do the same thing on the other side. And just flip by the head, just be careful. Those still 2 bands are loose, or if you slip knotted them. Like that. So it looks like this. 4 bands on top from our little shell row, or trim row, and then 4 bands from the main shell. So now what we want to do is, let me just move these out of my way. Go away. What we need to do is pull up the bottom bands through the top bands. And how we do that is I take my hook, stick it through the top bands, grab those bottom ones, pull them up through. They're on my hook. Then all the, in my case, the pink trim comes off the pin, and then what's on my hook goes back onto the pin. Then you keep doing that so that the bottom 4 up through the top 4, and then sometimes they'll come off right away, and then what's on your hook goes back onto the pin. And you'll do that all the way around. And once you get the hang of it, it's easier. Just make sure that you get all 4 bands back onto the pin. I know a few times I've missed a band or two, and that's no fun. We're almost done. Just have a few more steps to do. That. So you should have the trim row just kind of captured on the side. I'm going to go ahead and tuck this up over the top of the pin, so it's towards the inside on both ends. You probably want to pull up the center again. Make sure it's not stuck on any pins, like that. We still have our head. So now we're going to do what is going to be reducing all the way around. And to do that, I'm going to start on this pin down here on the lower right. I'll pick up the top two bands. If I can find it. Sometimes they get mixed up, so you just gotta find the top two. Top two, and they're gonna come back. Because they're coming from up here on the right, I'm gonna bring them back down here to the left. Because I know how I put the bands on the pins, starting here and all the way around, I should be able to take the top bands off and bring them back, and then the other ones will go forward. So these, they're coming from the left, so they're going to go to the right. Then we'll skip up to the next pin up that we don't have any of the reducing bands on. Skip up to the next one, pick up the top two. Top two, and I can bring them back and then bring the other ones forward. Now for this, because the kind of connection is hidden inside of the little shell trim portion, it's not as crucial if you don't get them going the right way, but just so that you have them reduced. So here's my reducing band for this pin. So we'll go up to the next one. It doesn't have any reducing bands on it. Stay. Grab the top two. They're slippery. Top two. I'm going to bring them back. And the other two I'm going to bring forward. So here's where we ended. We'll go up to the next pin. Top two are coming back. The bottom two will go forward. So this will be the first side. There'll be a long stretch right here, a long stretch between these, here, and here. So we'll come around to the other side. In this top corner is where we're going to start over here. Find the top two. We'll take them back. And then the other two will come forward. Skip to the next pin. Grab the top two bands. I'm going to pull them back. Pull the other two forward. Skip to the next pin. Grab the top two, pull them back. Bottom two are going to come forward. And then we should have our last pin here that doesn't have any reducing bands on it. Grab the top two, bring them back, and then the bottom two forward. So here it is on this side. They're long stretches now for the bands. You want to push those down. And now we're going to do a row, but we're going to start attaching more things. The feet, the tail, the rest of the head. So, again, you want to make sure that you have what I have here. Starting down here across the bottom, it's going to be two bands. Long stretch across. Right here in front, we're going to put a foot, but we're really putting half of the foot. So again, I guess it doesn't matter which side of the foot you take here, but you want, when you hold it like this towards the loom, you want the top bands are going to go on the pins, and then there's bands on the bottom that will go kind of hook under. So like we put the outside on first, and then we put the inside on next. So when you put these on, you want the two bands that are towards the top as you're holding it like this. And be careful. Using your hook might be, especially around the head, that's why it's getting in my way. So like that is what it looks like on the top. And if I look at the bottom, It looks like that. So now the head, we are going to attach the rest of it. And for this, if we look at our little trim piece here, you should be able to take your hook and go up through a section right here, and there'll be another section right here. There are little spaces there. We want to be able to pull 1/2 of our headband down through this section, and then it's going to go on the pin so we complete the row around. So again, I'm in this little section right after where we put the foot on. I stuck my hook up underneath the trim. I'm going to poke it through 1/2 of the head on the side towards me, but before I do any pulling, grab a hold of the other side and get your finger in there. I have the other side stuck through my hook, and now I'm on the other side making sure that I find the center and get it wrapped around my finger so that we don't pull the band out of the neck. So now I have this. So I'm going to take my hook, pull that band underneath that trim piece and come out underneath of it, and it's going to go onto that pin. So do the same thing on the other side. I'm going above the reducing band too, in case you didn't see that. Above the reducing band, but underneath that trim. Grabbing that band, pulling it down underneath the trim, and then onto the pin. So it should look like that now. So now the head is secure. Next spot over here will be another foot. So again, when you're holding it, the top 2 bands that you use or that you grab are going to be what goes onto the loom, and then there'll be 2 bands underneath. So turn it again, 2 bands on the end, turn around to the back side of the turtle. There'll be another foot, like that. Next long stretch right here is going to be the tail. Like that. And then the last stretch is going to be our other foot. Again, make sure that you get the top bands when you're holding it next to your loom. So it should look like this now when we get to there. So now we're going to flip, and you're going to want to be careful, take your time. I'm going to start over here on the left side of the loom and work down this way. But first we're going to have, there's technically 4 reducing bands. So if it's easier, just kind of see, here's 2 bands from the reducing. Here's the other 2 bands from the reducing. And then there'll be 4 bands underneath of that to go over the top. Then we have our foot. And then this pin right here in the middle, there'll be 4 reducing bands. So I'll do the top 2, then the next 2 for the reducing. And there's 4 bands underneath that. Flip those over. And then our tail. And our next pin, again, 4 reducing bands. If you can get them all over at once, that's fine too. Otherwise, just do the 2 and 2, because that way they're not quite as much stress on your hook in your hand. And then the bottom 4. And then another foot. And then our bottom corner here, same thing. Reducing bands. And then the bottom 4. Once we get these all done, it gets a little easier. It's still squishy though, so again, all of these pins on this side are going to have the reducing bands to flip over, and then the 4 from the row. Last one, like that. So I have my 8 pins flipped. So now I'll go and I'll untuck this on the end. This one too. The tail I can flip towards the inside. The feet, you can flip those over carefully because we still have the 2 loose bands there. Like that. So now we're here. We need to have another row to attach all of the legs. I debate very heavily whether we should move these closer or leave them far apart. When we move them closer, it gets really scrunchy. Makes it a little difficult because the turtle wants it to pop off the loom. So I'm going to leave them out this time as we go around. So 2 bands starting down here, 2 bands across, and then right here in the next spot up we're going to put on the other leg. So grab those bands, stretch them over to the next spot like that. Now in front of the head it's 2 bands, and the leg. Now remember, if you accidentally pull these leg bands out, I would try your hardest to just get another one back in there the best you can, or there is still room on the loom to remake it. You'll have to go kind of undo a little bit of the row, but you don't want to start over now. So like that. Come around the other side, 2 bands on the end, come around again, put the other leg on, like that. And then right where the tail is, it'll be 2 bands. And then the last leg. Like that. So now we have all the legs on. There's 2 bands on kind of across from each other. So we'll go ahead and flip the bottom 4 all the way around. And it's going to feel tight. Like that. So pop these off. Alright. Pull up on the center of him a little bit, or her, rather. And she doesn't want to go anywhere, so we'll just use our hook. There. Like that. So now what we want to do is we're going to reduce again and do one more row, and then we'll be able to close. And it turns out really nicely that way. So now for this though, we are going to have to bring this together to reduce it, otherwise the pins will just end up being too far apart. So on this side, on the right side, I'm going to take these bottom ones and bring them up 1 pin. So take them up. Actually, I'll have you do this first. Hold on. Makes it easier. Unstick the bands from this pin right here. And then go in here and grab these bands and bring them up a pin. Like that. And then up here, we'll take the next, we'll leave this one alone right here, and then we'll go up to this third one, and we'll bring that down 1. And this one way up here, we're going to bring that all the way down to the next one up in the 4 row. And again, it might be stuck on the pin. I just use my finger to unstick it right there. Bring it down, put it on the pin. Uh-oh. I saw you sneaking off my hook. Be careful, please. Like that. So I have all 4 in the front, move closer. And we're going to do the same thing in the back. So I'll start up here at this top one. I'm going to grab those, bring them down a pin. And then down here, we'll leave this next one alone. Then this one's going to come up a pin. And then this last one, way down here, is going to come up to this pin up here by my thumb. So it'll be 4 in a row on the left side as well. Like that. So there's most of the turtle. Looks cute like this too. So we want to push those bands down. And this is the part that's going to be a little tricky, but we need to reduce to give the belly a nice look when it's done. So starting down here in this lower corner, and this is why I didn't move them closer before, because the feet get in the way, and so have to do the best we can here. Take it slow. Lower corner, you want to grab the top 2 bands. And they should, mine are coming from the foot, so they're going to come over to the left. And then the other ones will go up to the right. So now we have 3 on this side, so we'll go to this middle one. Grab the top 2 bands. And they're coming from my foot up here, so they're going to come back. And then the other 2 will go forward. We'll flip to the other side, starting on this top pin up here, grabbing the top 2. And be careful as we go here, because the bands might want to slide up on the pin. So my top 2 bands are coming from my leg, so they're going to come back towards the other side. And then the other 2 are going to come forward, or towards me. So we're reducing this down to 4 pins, so it gets a little squishy. So then our last one to reduce, it's going to be this middle one right here. So go ahead and grab the top 2. And they're coming from my foot, so they're going to go back. And then the other 2 will come forward. Like that. So push those down nice and far. And we're going to do a row all the way around. 2 bands. And this will be the last row. And then we can take our awesome turtle off. I will say that if you make this and you have a really hard time or you have a fail right here at the end, just try closing it without doing this last reducing. It still looks okay, it's just kind of, it's a little bumpy on the bottom. And I kind of am always trying to make everything look as nice as possible when I make things, so fix the little details. And for this one, it included adding another row when it was really tight and kind of hard, so. So, 2 bands all the way around. There's 4 pins left, so 2 bands across, 2 bands up, 2 bands back across, and 2 here. So then for flipping the bands over, you're going to have 4 reducing bands. You're not a reducing band. So there's 2 reducing bands. There's 2. And then the bottom 4. 4. Not 5. Bottom 4 to flip over, leaving you with 4 on the pen. And it'll be like that on each one. And once you get the reducing bands over, it should be much easier to kind of see what's what. Unless you flip over the reducing band that's on the bottom and then you can't find the top reducing band. There we go. Much better. Almost done. We took my kids to a little thing called Spring Fest the other day. My son, my little guy, he got his face painted as a zebra. He loved it. My daughter wanted nothing to do with it. The lady was super nice though when she tried painting her face. I think more for me than for her. It's like, I want her to be a little fairy princess. Alright, so we are done with the rows. We're ready to take the turtle off. So it's just the 4 pins, but you want to make sure they've got some bands that are hooked over pins. Just kind of take a look around and see where those are so you can unhook those so you don't get stuck when you're taking it off. You should be able to use a rainbow loom hook. You can use a latch hook too, but whichever one you're comfortable with. But then just take your hook, go in through each section hanging on, particularly to the last 2 pins, to make sure that as you go around nothing pops off, like my last one just did. Surgery! Will there be a miracle? I think I have an extra band there, but I'm not going to fight it. Alright, I need more tools for my surgery. We never give up when something doesn't close right. One more, one more. Aha. And I have them. And I think you are just going to go over the top. And then ta-da! Save. Total awesomeness. That would have been a really long tutorial to redo. Never give up. Pull a band all the way through, both ends on, do a slip knot, then pull it tight. Then you want to hide your tail. Squish your shell back up. Hide my tail. I'm totally stoked that I saved that. Oof, that would have been bad. Alright. Adorable turtle! On the bottom you may have to like take your hook and kind of, like I have a couple bands that are, because of the stretching, I'll have to pull them out tight. Or kind of pull them, fix them a little bit, but it is also on the bottom, so it's not like hugely crucial where you're going to really see it. I just know about it because I see it and I always fix all that stuff. So also with the shell, because of how it was stretched long ways on the loom, on the kind of like right up through the center here, you may want to take a hook and go kind of like right up that little ridge line, and that'll help get rid of some of the that little line that shows up right there. I hope none of you lose your turtle at that point. That's bad. I'm nervous now. I made like 4 of them, so that was the first time I lost one, so hopefully you guys don't have any of those issues. Maybe it's late at night and got butterfingers. Or maybe it's Twix fingers. So there's our adorable little turtle. They're friends. You can see the difference in bands, how they look. I know because people will ask me how I made it. My little bow, it's just 4 bands on the hook, wrapped around one time, and then 2 bands on the hook, doubled, and then I pull it through the 4 bands, back on, like that, and then you just kind of turn this until, generally where you get the, like where it crosses, until it looks good to you. And you do that exact same thing again, 4 bands on the hook, twist around, and then 2 bands on the hook, twist, they're doubled, pull it through again, just like before. Back on, like that. And then 2 bands, double them, pull them through everything on your hook, both ends back on, then make a slip knot, and then whatever is left on your hook, you'll take that and flip it over the middle of the bow. So take it and I'll push one side of my bow through the center of it. and then just kind of center it in there. And then you'll have to adjust these, twist them. Usually I just get my finger in there and start pulling it. So then you have a little bow, and you'll just take your hook through one side of it. You hear that feeling in your fingers and all of a sudden it's just like they don't want to bend for a second? Like, I forgot how to bend. I'm not going to do it for you. That totally just happened. You just take your hook, stick it through, pull a band through, and then you just kind of pick your spots where you want to have it on your turtle. Find that little tail band. So there's the other half of my band that's on my hook, like that. Hook that side, pull it through what's already on my hook, and then you pull tight. So then you have the little bow on there. Then you'll hide the tail in the turtle. Be careful if you use jelly because they like to come undone, so get in there. Adorable! I love them. I hope you do too. I know this is a long tutorial, so I definitely appreciate you guys sticking it out with me, and I hope that I'm kind of glad that the closing issue happened at the end, so that it won't deter too many of you people from baking it, because that would be bad. Because I think it's super cute, and like I said, I made other ones that just, they didn't turn out quite as nice, so I didn't go with that one, but they're super cute. Hopefully you don't have any issues closing it like I did, but totally worth it. And I really do love just the kind of simplistic little turtliness of them. But thank you guys very much for watching and sticking with me while we made these. 'Cause like I said, I know it was a long tutorial. I'll definitely have more things for you soon. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering when I'm posting and if I'm not interested, and why there aren't as many looming videos and things like that. And mainly it's just family has been the priority lately, and we've had some things going on that we have to take care of, and that's always the main focus for me. I love looming. I love sharing with you guys. I love crafting in general, so I want to be able to do that as much as possible, but you have to, of course, have priorities, and that's why I haven't been putting out quite as many videos, but I'm getting to them as quickly as I can, and I'm hoping that as things quiet down that I'll have more things for you soon, because I do enjoy creating for you guys and sharing my designs with you and seeing what you guys do with them. So, but thank you very much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you make some of these, you have to share them with me on my Instagram, which is at Crafting Fantastic. And then, of course, you can share them with me on my Facebook, which is feelinspiffy or Crafting Fantastic. They'll both find me. And then it would be fantastic if you would give this video a thumbs up if you love turtles, if you love this turtle, and if you want more awesome creations. You can also subscribe to my channel here and tell all your friends, because that would be awesome too. And I'd really appreciate it. But thank you guys very much, and I will have more for you soon. Happy looming.